Morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Grant Cameron, and today I have an important interview I want to do. I recently posted a video on my YouTube channel with a young lad by the name of Seth, who is in Australia, and he has been trained by his grandmother to see with a blindfold. And of course, if you put it out on the internet, people are kind of shocked and they're horrified. And I can say, I can't really describe who is going to do this, but I haven't even told Rob and Wendy, who are my guests today. There are some big name people who are about to take this up, and people don't know this. So this is about to go viral. And so I have two guests with me today, Rob Freeman and Wendy Gallant, who have worked on this blindfold thing. And this is this idea that we can train a person to see without their eyes. The concept that it's actually been done, I think my guests will agree, it's actually been done with blind people in Germany, in England, in Utah, and I think in Eastern Europe, they were doing blind people as well. So I brought on Wendy and Rob to sort of give us a little background on blindfold reading, what this is all about, to sort of support this little Seth, because I'm about to put out another video where Seth is playing basketball with his blindfold on. And so good morning, Rob, and good morning, Wendy. How are you today?
Great.
Yeah.
Great, Grant.
I really appreciate the work that you two have done on this, and you've taken some flack from it and stuff like that. And you've worked on this, and you've even taken up some of the stuff where I said, oh, we should try this with, in the dark. And you guys actually went and did it in the dark. And yet in the end, people will still say, oh, there's a tape recorder going that's telling them what's going on. I don't think you'll ever cure the skeptics, but it's almost like Max Planck said, science and new ideas advance one funeral at a time, that we just keep plugging away, do our thing, and eventually people will catch on that this is actually for real. So I want to welcome you here today, and I want to get you to sort of maybe between the two of you, give an idea to people what blindfold reading is all about. Maybe show the blindfold, what kind of blindfold that Seth is using, and to explain to people, it may look crazy, but there are a lot of people around the world, and I think you've been trained by a number of people around the world on this technique, that this is something that there's a lot of people doing training on this. So I'll let you take it from there and sort of go through between the two of you what blindfold reading is and what Seth is doing. The people will see Seth playing basketball. What's this all about?
Okay, I'm going to let Wendy go first because Wendy is the one that sent you the video of Seth, and she kind of started the whole ball rolling in that aspect. So Wendy, you go ahead and start.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was blown away by Seth. Kids can do this really easily. And what it actually started it is I trained Leonie one day, and she totally opened up. And she made a remark at the end of the video, I'm going to go out and drive the car. And we just laughed. And and she actually was going to, but like she was grandma and she had stuff to do. So then she texted me and she said, I'm not going to do it. Seth is going to do it. And I've seen Seth do some pretty amazing things. So it didn't surprise me. And they actually meant to put eye patches on him too. They got so excited about it, they forgot to put the eye patches on. Okay. But he was actually wearing, excuse my mask, I've drawn on it.
Yeah.
It's actually this mask, and you can see that it's foam in it, and you cannot see out of it, and you have to you pull it tight and you see nothing, and that's what Seth was wearing. And like I say, he actually meant to put patches on too. So he is, I think he's 13.
13, yes.
He's 13, and he sees through this spot on his mask. That's where his spot is. Everybody's is different. And kids, it opens up, and it just a small spot opens up as you get trained. A small spot opens up and you can actually see, and it's actually your mind sight. It's not your eyesight, it's your mind sight. Yeah.
Show the mask again, and because people will always say, oh, they're peeking out of the side of the mask. So show how that is not possible with the mask.
There's foam. Yeah. There's
so
foam.
The idea that you're seeing through the side is crazy.
Yeah.
And these are designed, they use them for what? These were designed for some sort of experiment that we're doing or something?
I'm not sure. Was it for
I think they're just sleep masks. Grant,
Okay.
and but they just happen to work very well for this type of thing. So the company that makes these is enjoying quite a good run with the
Yeah.
profit over these masks.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're not really cheap masks. They're not like buy them at dollar store.
No.
No. And for other countries to buy them, they have to get shipped from, the US or whatever. So people can wind up spending a lot of money by the time they pay for shipping.
Mhm.
Now, Rob, you did your was it your niece that you trained quite quickly, and you had a video of your niece up, I think, right?
Yes, that was Danny, and that was right here in the basement. And she was, gosh, I don't even remember. This was like 4 years ago now, 3 or 4 years ago. And she would have been about, I'm going to say about 14 or 15. And we had Michaela Estradi from Romania here
Okay.
teaching several of us, including Wendy, including Leonie and her husband. And there was an extra spot because somebody couldn't come or whatever. And so Danny stepped in. She happened to be here visiting from Costa Rica. She stepped in.
I think Michaela really liked Danny, and she just kind of went, "Come on down and take the course."
Yeah, that could have been part of it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so she just picked it right up.
Kids
And
can. Yeah, kids can.
after Michaela left, I practiced with her, and she really didn't believe she was doing it. So we put patches on her eyes, and we put the mask on, and she sees like below. It's as if her beam is pointing down from about right here. So she
Yeah.
has to look like this. So she was convinced she was seeing through the mask. She was convinced that somehow the tape had lifted, just a little bit, just a little bit. And she was seeing through the tape, and somehow she was seeing just under the mask, where it was touching the face. So she was convinced. She was just humoring me. She was just going along with what I was saying and, pretending to see.
Mhm.
And she thought it was a big joke.
Yeah.
And when we were all finished, I asked her to lift her mask up and take her patches off. I didn't want to pull her eyebrows off, so I let her do it. And she felt around her patches, and it's, oh my God, they're totally sealed.
Mhm.
And she said, it's like I was seeing. And I said, yes, you were. The problem, Grant, is it looks exactly the same as regular seeing.
Yes.
It's presented in your visual center in your brain, same as where your eyes present the visual, images. So a person really thinks that they're just seeing with their eyes. And, even to this day, when Wendy and I practice, we video everything. And we edit the videos. Yes, we don't always get things correct. So we edit out the videos and just put the correct things in. We play them back for positive reinforcement. And even
I don't remember. Yeah.
looking at those videos, I say, I don't remember doing that well.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, the video proves it. The camera does not lie.
Yeah.
You are seeing.
Now, your niece was actually reading a book, and there's a number of examples of kids who are actually reading books, which is, pretty amazing stuff.
There's tons of videos on the internet now. And there's that lady in Britain that teaches.
Yeah.
And now she says that nobody over 12 can do it. Not true.
Mhm.
It just becomes more difficult when you're over 12.
And we were actually reading books, Rob and I, when we took the training with Nikolai and Marina.
Yeah.
We were actually seeing and reading and everything after the month's training. But after the training quit, then we kind of went backwards again. So we're having to try to push ourselves and keep up with where we were, because it's constant training to keep this. So
Yeah, and it's something that's been around forever, Grant. I mean, there's books, there's some old books you can find on this that were written in the 1800s. This goes way back. I know you've interviewed several other people, and they've talked about the history of it in Indonesia.
Yeah.
It's something that everybody's born with.
Mhm.
And I know this is just speculation, but I like to hypothesize and theorize on things, how they work. And I swear it's something that, maybe when we were in our caveman days, we needed this to be able to protect our family. If we're in a cave and it's dark, there's no moon, it's cloudy, there's no stars. And if a wild animal comes in, you better be able to protect your family. So maybe we developed this mind vision seeing so that we literally could see in the dark. And once again, animals are plentiful at nighttime out and about.
Mhm.
So Did the hunters go out at nighttime to get food? You know, they could see in the dark. So if you're a human being, you can do this.
Yeah.
And it's actually fairly easy the first time to see the colors. As Wendy mentioned, it's harder to hang on to it.
Yeah.
It's if the brain automatically closes up.
Yeah.
It's kind of like if you cut yourself, the body will automatically work and scab up the cut and heal the cut. It will seal everything back up. It's the same with this. The minute you open it, it seems that your brain is already trying to close it. So we're always having to try to employ new little tricks to try to keep it open and distract the left brain, because it's a function of the right brain, you know, the creative side. But our left side, which is, you know, thinking, intellectual, reasoning, ego, where we spend most of our time, that doesn't like this, and it will close it up. So when you practice this, you've got to kind of quiet down the left side. You got to distract it. You know, quite often when we're practicing, if Wendy gets me to laugh, or if she's, you know, we're practicing and she's trying to see, I get her to laugh spontaneously, all of a sudden it opens for a flash. Or if you distract, you'll see quite often in the videos, Wendy will flick my mask and boom, I get it. Or, you know, she'll do something silly, like put a cup on my head, you know, like a dunce cap, right?
I think the last training, I was sitting there and he was trying to get me to see a 3D object. And it was I'd been training for an hour. I was getting really, really tired. So I was sitting there tapping my feet and tapping my mask like that. But the minute I started doing that, boom, there it was. It was just opened up just like that.
Yeah. So, you know, the fact that
Oh.
Seth can do this, it's nothing really special. He's
No.
one of the few kids that are shown on video doing this. But as you know, there's lots of videos of kids playing ping pong.
Yeah.
There's videos of young people driving go-karts.
Yeah.
There's a video of a kid riding a bike.
Leonie showed me a video yesterday. She had her kids that she's training out doing treasure hunt.
Wow.
And that was very, very cool. And the one girl was having a bad day and she was having trouble, but they were navigating through the trees and stuff and doing a treasure hunt. I think she has about, 6 kids that she's training.
Wow.
Yeah.
And if you can make
They're all,
it
they're
fun,
all pretty
Grant.
proficient. What's
Well,
that?
they're young kids. So yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you
Wow.
can make it fun for the kids or even the adults, if you can make it fun, that seems to connect us to our right brain. It's like connecting us to the little child inside of us that may
Yeah.
exist in the right brain. And when you do that, you can connect and it opens right up.
Yeah.
Another example is when you're tired. I went for a whole week where I was only getting like 6 hours sleep a night. And every day, Wendy was having great success getting me open and seeing the things. I just zoomed right forward. But I said, I can't keep doing this. I can't be tired all day. You know, one of the guys in our group, he just posted in the last couple of days, he's doing what did he call that workout? Insanity workout?
Insanity workout. Yeah.
Yeah, where it's heavy duty cardio and lifting weights and you're just exhausted.
Yeah.
The seeing, he was wearing his mask, his seeing opened up for 8 minutes. He could see the room in his gym. He could read the readouts on his machines, everything. But he tried it again last night and he too said in the post, he says, but I can't wear myself out for this to work. You know, so the trick is to be able to access it in your normal waking state. And it's really getting yourself to a special state. It's just before the hypnagogic state. You know, when you're in between awake and sleep, you know, sometimes your muscles twitch. You might jump a little bit and you're just changing over. It's the state just before that. So you're still awake, you're still conscious, but you're not quite in that hypnagogic state. It's a state that quite often you're in when you're watching a movie, for example. When you're just lost in the movie, you're a total passive observer. Your left brain is just kind of shut down. You're just watching it, you're vegging out, you're enjoying the movie. That's very similar to the state that you need to be in for this to work.
In my
Now, that was
case-
the, sorry, they had the theory about the theta, that when you go into the hypnagogic state, you're going through theta, going to delta, which is sleep. And that's when all these, you know, visions take place and you sort of go into the matrix or whatever. You've thrown a lot of sort of money and time at this thing. Did you do one with brainwaves? Have you done that with the brainwaves?
Yeah, we did. We did a few, but we found that it was too distracting.
Okay.
Like as you hook up all this electronic stuff, it's hugely distracting and it gets in the way. So we just took it all right off in practice. But like I say, when you're in that hypnagogic state, I've been in that state several times too. Like when Wendy takes me through a relaxation dialogue, she'll tell a story and I get lost in the story. Yeah. And all of a sudden I find myself into like vivid, lucid dreaming. Now, Wendy will see my head nod down a little bit and right away she pulls out a color and she'll say, "What color is this, Rob?" And boom, I get it. And I've had where, you know, I can see around a little bit, but then it closes up. As an adult, I'm trying to open it up and have it stay open in real time. So if I'm wearing a mask, I can look around the room, see everything. I can read what's on a page, read a book. And it seems that if you can read a book and read a few pages a day, that will motivate this ability to stay open.
Now, one of the criticisms that was on there that really surprised me, that got a lot of support, was people said, "So why would you do this? Like, what's the deal?" I mean, so can you answer that question? Why would we want to do this kind of stuff? To me, it's like, you know, my assistant Sinead is totally deaf. She can't hear at all. She has 2 cochlear implants to give her 10% hearing. And so it's almost like saying, well, why would you want to teach someone to hear or something like that? It's like, it just sort of surprised me that people couldn't see the benefit of training this anomaly and figuring out what's actually going on, what's actually seeing in terms of, you know, to me, it was blind people. But what's your opinion of why do you think this is important for people to be researching? And I think there's some people who are, it's starting to catch on that people are starting to take this seriously and realizing we can learn something from this. What would you say?
Wendy, you go ahead and talk about how this benefits kids.
Well, for kids, their learning abilities, better confidence level, they all kinds of other things like psychic, knowing what's going to happen. Most of it is to give the kids their confidence. In my case, the synchronicities that have happened since I started doing this is incredible. Mostly Rob and I connect a lot because we train so much together. But yeah, I just find that for me, you know more that's out there. Like it just opens me right up to what the possibilities are out there, and it takes you away from the 3D world as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and Grant, for adults, well, adults and kids alike, you know, many people say we don't use 90% of our brain. And probably 90% of our brain is the right brain. And when you access this, you're accessing the right brain. So you are getting access to that 90%. And it just stands to reason, if you have access to more of your brain, it's going to open up more abilities for you. It's going to help you in the world. So it stands to do nothing but benefit any person in any aspect of their life. It reconnects them to their self. It connects them to ability that is an innate, inborn ability. And I guess if you look at it this way, if you hinder people's development, hinder a child's development, it's not a pretty sight when they get older. I've got a friend who was, you know, when we were kids, they expected everybody to write with their right hand. Yeah. I've got a friend who has trouble to this day because his teacher forced him to write with his right hand when he was left-handed. Wow. He developed emotional problems, cognitive problems, everything. So the opposite stands to reason. These abilities that we have, if you allow them to flourish and develop, you're going to wind up a more integrated, a more whole person. And, you know, why wouldn't a person want to develop what they've been given?
Now, you mentioned the psychic component, this idea that, you know, people can sort of pick up on things. And I always relate it to being associated with out-of-body experiences, or people who have near-death experiences where, you know, their eyes are taped shut during an operation so the cornea doesn't get scratched or whatever. And they suddenly can describe who the doctor was and what he looked like and what he was doing and stuff like that. So talk a little bit about the other components, the psychic, or I listened to the kids. There's 2 of the kids from England separately on interviews, and I picked it up because I'm associated with Sinead, who has this hearing problem, where I heard the one kid say, my hearing improved. I can hear people from a mile away. I heard two kids say the same thing. So talk about this component, not just seeing that there seems to be other things that come with this besides sight.
Well, Grant, there's no doubt about Sinead, for example, she could develop her psychic hearing.
Yeah.
So in other words, she would be able to hear with her mind.
Yeah.
Wendy and I have both experienced components of this.
Mm-hmm.
I can only speak for myself exactly how it happened, but I've heard voices amplified that were in the other room. And as you're mentioning, you could hear people, you could put your consciousness out to another spot and hear what's going on in that spot. Because this ability, I don't know exactly how it works, but I just get the feeling it's pure consciousness and it's wherever you put it. So if you want to see, apparently through your blindfold, you're putting your consciousness right here, sort of in front. So you've got a point of view or point of vision right from here, and you can see what's in front of you. But as Wendy knows, when we were in Ottawa learning, she trained a little boy up there as part of the practice, and the little boy was seeing out of his wrist.
Wow.
So it's a matter of
anywhere. It can be anywhere. Yeah.
It's a matter of where you put that consciousness. So for example, Sinead could put her consciousness just over at the other end of the room and hear what everybody's saying. It's not coming through her ears, it's coming through her consciousness somehow. All I know is I've had different experiences right here in the room where my consciousness, it went down to my feet because all of a sudden the room opened up and I'm looking up at the fireplace and I'm looking over at the fireplace and I could see it all very clearly. So you have to train the ability and you have to tell it and train it what it is you want to do and exactly from what point of view. Wendy, maybe you can describe some of your experiences where you saw in the other room, for example.
Well, there was one time when we were training and we were just starting this out, and it was actually hilarious because I was sitting there and Rob was trying to get me to see colors. And it's seriously, I said, my consciousness just went into that bedroom and we laughed about it. And he ran in there and he grabbed a bunch of colored sheets and started putting the colored sheets up in that bedroom, even though I was in the living room and I was getting them. And it was like my consciousness had gone in there. And that was my first experience. I've had other ones where Rob would be at his house. One in particular, I remember Rob was at his house and he was walking and we were doing a Skype. And he said, he directed me to his house. And then he said, I'm walking across the room with a colored paper. Tell me what color the paper is. As he was saying that, I saw him walk across the room and saw him holding the colored paper, which was orange. And then going back to the hearing, we were trying something different and Rob hauled out all his credit cards. And he threw them out in front of me. We always got to try something different. And he threw them out in front of me and then shuffled them and then took them away. And I'm like, okay, I'm never going to get this. Never, ever. But it was funny. A voice was saying in my ear, Walmart, 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 Walmart. So I finally said, do you have a Walmart credit card? Or was it Walmart or what was it?
I don't know. It was either Walmart or Costco, or it was one of them, but
Costco.
Wendy got it perfect.
Costco. It was Costco. I kept hearing that Costco, Costco, Costco. So I finally went, is it a Costco credit card? And he said, yes. And that totally blew my mind. Totally blew my mind. So you can send it anything. Since training this, I always say anything is possible. Absolutely anything's possible. Whatever your brain will let in, whatever you believe. Because I'm running into the point now that I can see the room, but I can only see certain things in the room. It's almost like it's too much information.
Okay.
So I'm having to tone it down. Like I'm here seeing the room, but then he tells me to see a card, and I have to tone it down and say, okay, see your hand, see the card. What's on the card? That's the point I am. But I'm looking out. I could see him standing there, and I could tell he was wearing blue jeans. But I was having difficulty with letters and stuff, and it's just too much information for me right now because I'm just opening up.
So Grant, this blindfold seating is just a specialized version of all this, you might say, psychic or consciousness stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like when you go to university, you've got to pick a course that you're going to study. You can't say, I'm going to learn them all. Well, if you've got 90 years, you can, but you've got to kind of, put a stick in the sand and say, okay, I'm going to learn this one. In our case, it's the blindfold vision. And as we've been learning it, we have gone on little tangents, either on purpose or by accident, into some of these others. But now you mentioned about the near-death experiences where the patients that have their eyes taped shut, and sometimes, they actually go into cardiac arrest and they're dead. They're clinically dead. And they recount exactly what happened as if they were above. So their consciousness just went to the ceiling, the same as what we've experienced with our blindfold vision, where it's gone to a certain spot and is able to see from that spot. And people will tell you that this vision is mono, it's not stereo. So you're not seeing with two eyes, you're seeing with one. It's like a point spot wherever you have that sort of beam or that spot. And some people have a little bit of trouble with depth perception.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that because Seth talked about that when he was driving the car, about the depth perception stuff being off. I didn't know that it was mono. That's good you pointed that out.
I tried to play when I first opened up, when I was with Michaela, when I first opened up, I tried to play pool. Now that was really tough because I'm trying to hit this little ball into this pocket, and it was like 2D, not 3D, and it was the whole depth perception and trying to walk. It was like, whoa, So Seth did amazing because you heard him say, I can't really tell where the trees are, you know. And it's just that the depth perception is totally different when you're doing it, so you have to really be careful.
So that's where your own experience comes in and your own brain, because for example, if something's moving towards you, when it gets really close, it moves fast and it gets bigger. So your brain automatically perceives that, oh, this is very close to me. So the brain will use all those other clues to interpret depth, Grant. Like if something's moving across and it's far away, it'll be moving slower. As you get closer to it, it's moving across your screen faster. So for example, Seth driving the car, trees going by in the near area, even though he doesn't have depth, he knows what a tree looks like. And my gosh, the trunk's getting bigger very quickly here. So it must be close.
And he's seeing on his left. So he was driving looking like this because that's where he sees. So he did an amazing job.
So what have you folks got planned? I mean, you're thinking of all sorts of stuff. I mean, have you got some sort of experiments you're working on in terms of trying to clarify what's going on and how to make it better?
Yes, Grant, as you know, we worked with the night vision camera.
Yeah.
It started out right here that we were trying to push it forward, and I have the bathroom right here at the rec room, and there's no windows in it.
Yeah.
So I forget who went first. Was it you that went first, Wendy? But anyway.
I think I did. Yeah, he stuck me in there, shut the door, and he put stuff in a drawer in front. So I'm sitting on the toilet, and he says, pull out the drawer. So I'm pulling out the drawer, and he had a cup. I can't remember, a cup and a letter and stuff in there. But what blew my mind is when I pulled out the cup, it was turquoise. I'm in pitch blackness. I pulled out the cup and I actually saw the turquoise blue cup, the ribs and everything, and I'm in pitch blackness.
Yeah.
And then I saw the letter and stuff. And I think you were the same, weren't you, Rob? Because we switched.
Yeah, we switched and we recorded from the outside. So it's not that great of a video. And then I set up my night vision camera, from the WMD, the green night vision, the wide angle. And we went to my closet because again, in the bedroom, there's no windows in it. And we made sure we sealed up the crack on the bottom so there's no light coming through, and closed all the other doors. And so now with the night vision, you do have an illuminator. Now it's an infrared illuminator. So even though our eyes view it as pitch black, there's infrared light. But Wendy got pretty much everything. I got pretty much everything. And then we thought, and we were talking with Dean Raid, and he's doing a little bit of research around this, and he's got
is that right? You talked to Dean Raid about it?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
he's watching everything we're doing and getting in there in discussions and everything we're doing.
Explain who he is for people who don't know Dean Radin, because that's a pretty major figure.
Yeah, I know that he runs a place in the
The IONS
States.
Institute, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Edgar Mitchell started the IONS Institute after he had the experience coming back from the moon, the oneness experience where he's one with the universe and stuff. And he wanted to figure out what it was. So he studied, that's the whole deal, is to study consciousness. So if Radin is watching you, then that's, I'm going to, after the interview, I'll tell you who else is working on it. But that indicates that people are starting to take this seriously. And why would you not? I mean, it's like any anomaly that the discoveries are not going to come from shuffling the blocks you got right now. The discoveries are going to coming from figuring out the block that doesn't fit and figuring out why it doesn't fit. And then you discover something. So I'm really impressed that he's, and so what did he say? What did?
Yeah. So he wanted us to come out and show us. And then Wendy and I talked and we said, honest to God.
Well, it was COVID too. We couldn't cross the border. So.
And we said, honestly, you know, we do want to come and see you, but we want the ability to be bulletproof before we come out there. Because we know there will be rigorous experience, Grant, where he tries everything to distract you, because it's scientific experiments. You got to do all those things, right?
And he was wanting us, he wanted to send us targets. Like he wanted us to, he was going to put stuff in an envelope and wanted us to do targets. And we said, well, that's more remote viewing. We're more into seeing aspects.
So we said, look, let us practice. Let us get to the point where we can make it happen on demand. You know, when we put the blindfold on, we can see the room, we can read. And Wendy and I will practice where I'm distracting her and I'm, you know, playing the stereo. I may be, you know, tapping her and really
Distracting's good.
Distracting and annoying her. Because if this is going to work, you've got to be able to work anytime. It's like your regular eyes. Even if a person's shouting at you, you can look and you can see out with your eyes. So we want this to be bulletproof, and then we're very much looking forward to getting together with him and he can try all the experiments he wants. So he had said when he saw the night vision one, he said, well, it's infrared light. So that's when I got the thermal camera out. Now the thermal works on heat.
Yeah, I couldn't use it.
No, because it shows up different hotspots on the body. We won't go there. We filmed Wendy and then we looked at it and we said, we can't show this.
I'm sitting there in the chair and he's looking through this thing and he goes, oh. And then he tells me I'm like in full view and I'm like,
I'll just use the word headlights. That's it. But anyway, there's no light. We had all the lights sealed up in Wendy's room that she had. We had
garbage
the thermal,
bags and tape. It was pitch.
everything, pitch black, you know, and we had it totally dark. So there was no light, no infrared light, no light of any kind. All there was the heat that reflects back. Now, even when the cards were held up, for example, if Wendy held that up to me and put her finger on something, in the thermal camera, you will not see the shapes because this card reflects heat evenly.
Yeah.
The only thing is you might see a grid from where I've got the tape because that's slightly different temperature. It's raised.
And you'll see the fingerprints.
Yeah. So if Wendy's holding the card like this, as soon as she lets go, it'll be all black here for several minutes. Yeah. So, you know, you couldn't see what was on the cards, but Wendy knew because she would, you know, go in the corner and turn her little red light flashlight on away from me just to verify the card. But then she would turn it off and then she would hold up the card and I would do the same with her. So, and it worked. We were amazed because we were able to see the shapes. We were able to get the colors, but Grant, there's no light. So how does that work?
I actually saw the title of a magazine in a pitch black room.
Popular Science magazine, yeah.
Popular. I saw popular. I saw the word. I saw the P-O. I started, and then I started seeing the other letters, and then I knew it was popular. Yeah.
Wow, I'm so impressed with what you folks are doing. I mean, you're moving it along here, and I think it's a great help to humanity, and for what you're doing. I'm honored to have come in contact with you. And one thing I talked to you, Rob, we showed the video. You had it, and you had pulled it down. This is the one with the kids in India. This is a big thing in India, right? There were kids are being trained.
Actually, the fellow that put the video on pulled it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they disappeared. Yeah.
Well, we don't know if that's because it was other people's kids he was training, and maybe he got in trouble for posting a video of somebody else's kids.
Yeah.
I didn't pull it down, but he did, and it could be
Yeah.
for reasons like that. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But they do a lot of this in India, and they train kids, and you know, they really should do this in North America. And this, once again, as Wendy mentioned, this is especially great for kids who have mentally handicapped kids, special kids,
Spectrum, yeah.
autistic kids, spectrum kids.
Autistic kids are a little bit more difficult.
Mhm.
That's what Leonie tells me, because she has a few autistic kids. Yeah.
Yeah, and kids with any kind of disability, any kind of mental issues, it's just a very good thing for them. They come out of their shell.
Well,
They
what Michaela tells me happens is when, as the kids are being trained this, they grow new neurons in their brains.
Yeah.
They grow, and that's why people hear. They grow new pathways in their brain, and that's what she tells me is happening. The more you train, the more pathways you grow. So that can only be helpful to anybody.
Yeah.
And yet, when you think about Alzheimer's and dementia and stuff, it's got to be nothing but good for those people too.
Grant, you're accessing the rest of the 90% of your brain,
Exactly.
so that's got to be a good thing.
And I think, Mark Komisaroff did a scientific thing where they put electrodes on their brain and everything, and found that they were indeed growing different pathways. They had proof, scientific proof.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Well, where can people get your stuff, Wendy? You got a channel to watch your stuff, and I'll link it, but sort of identify. You both have channels, but yours is the one we're going to promote, right?
Yeah, promote Wendy's channel because it shows a lot more videos than mine does.
Well, we split it up because Rob's training a lot more people, and we were. I wasn't willing to take on as many people as he was. I'm training 3 at the moment, and I don't know how many you're doing. And he's actually doing a lady who's blind, which is really kind of cool. Well, she's legally blind. Wow. And he's training her. So he's putting his training videos on his, and I'm putting mine on mine. And so I think it's, I can't even remember. Seeing Blindfold Training, okay. Rob Freeman and Wendy Gallant. Yeah.
So I didn't know you were training people. I mean, are you training, you're doing the blind purpose? Are you doing children? Are you doing adults, or who are you training?
Adults.
Adults. Okay.
Because Grant, there's tons of people training kids. It's easy. Any adult can train their own child in minutes. All they've got to do is put the blindfold on or a scarf and let the child know that he or she can see, and hold colored cups. Make it a game, and they will see almost immediately. You see, we've been trained to believe that we can't do this, so our brain has got this big barrier up in our belief system. Kids don't have that. If mommy says you can see blindfolded, the child believes it and allows it to happen. It's a natural thing.
The left brain really isn't online yet. It hasn't come on.
Exactly. Exactly. So the biggest issue with adults is coming at our deep-seated beliefs. And many people will mouth out loud that they want to do this. They're committed superficially.
Yeah.
But when the rubber hits the pavement, deep down inside, they're struggling with issues, deep-seated issues that are getting in the way.
Yeah.
And they've got to remove those mental blocks, because, you know, this filter that our left brain keeps in between, you know, our conscious and our unconscious, or daytime and nighttime, or whatever, it's very strong and it's very selective, and it blocks out almost everything.
And it's a big commitment too. Like even when you open up and you saw the room, you have to at least do 5-10 minutes a day, just sit down and do it. Otherwise you'll go backwards. And we find that too. And it's a big commitment for people, you know, especially adults. You really have to commit to it.
Yeah, I know. It was one of the trainers I was talking to. I can't remember which one it was. I brought up the blind thing, and they said, well, it's not really that easy, because it may help you for blind, but the person has to want to do it. And a lot of them don't want to do it. It's a lot of work. So you would think you just sit a blind person down and turn it around, but it's not that easy.
Even somebody normal, they come and they want to learn how to do this, and you may a lot of the times when you train them the first time, it's like they see the colors, they see shapes, they see a lot of stuff. But then as you train, it gets harder and harder because the brain gets bored. And you have to start incorporating new stuff and everything. And so they may have a session where they don't see anything. You just have to just keep plunking away. That happened to me, and I just put it down and say, be a better day tomorrow. And I just keep at it. But it is a commitment. It is.
Yeah. And as you train, a person's own belief system will keep saying, oh, this is bogus. This isn't real. I was cheating. Like Danny said herself. And that's why, once again, we do the video, Grant, because it doesn't lie.
Your left brain does get right in there and start telling you anything. I've had that. It tells you anything.
Grant, you know, you have that saying, the left brain liar, right?
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
The interpreter, that it always wants to make the world consistent, that this can't be so. And that's I call it like the big skeleton in the neurological closet, that neurologists don't want to talk about, this left brain thing, that you actually have a thing in your left brain that when the world becomes inconsistent and something doesn't make sense, it immediately sticks something in the hole to make it consistent again. And then they said that once that person makes the decision, like if you've seen I don't know if you've seen the videos that they did, they actually would show the person why they did what they did, that they'd been set up, and they still couldn't convince them that that's why they said they did something. And it was like, so it's, and they said it was 100% wrong. Every single time it was wrong in what it said, and it would never change its mind, no matter how much they tried to convince the person, which is something that I think people got to realize is the importance of understanding how neurology works, how the brain works, that you're just sort of living on the edge where you just you assume you see and you hear and stuff, and you don't realize 99% of what's going on, that it's much more complex than that. Even the idea of where does the image that you and I are seeing, where is it? There's no screen inside the head with little speakers. Where is that image taking place? It's that kind of thing. When you start thinking about it, you realize that that it's more complicated. And I'm glad that you and I have gotten to play this game. I always call it like the Super Bowl. Like we're in this thing on the leading edge of realizing that there's this unbelievably complex, massive world out there, and that you can go and explore.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. We're just having fun. And the more fun that you can put into this, the better it works, Grant.
Yeah.
When I'm training and the left brain gets in there and starts telling me, like the left brain's telling me what's on that sheet of paper. And I always say, the left brain lies, the right brain always tells the truth. So you wait for the right brain to come in, because it'll show you, and it's always right. So
wow. Fascinating. So hopefully we'll do an interview with Seth. Maybe you guys can join me on the interview when we talk to Seth. Hasn't been arranged yet, but I want to praise him for standing up and get him to realize with this interview today that there are people who are defending him, that tell him to just keep going ahead. Because at 13, to step out and do this and put yourself on video and on the world and stuff like that, I applaud him for doing it. And I applaud you guys for what you're doing.
He was so excited. He was just so excited to show people that he did that.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive, but it does look pretty weird. It's like you're going like, that can't possibly be true. So we're going to show the one with the basketball, and apparently there's some others that he has done that are, and that's the kind of thing that sort of entertains people. You may not 100% believe it, but when you see kids doing this, you got to go like, wow, this is pretty weird.
Yeah. Well, I think I sent you one of him playing, because we had a fellow on our Facebook group that sent in a thing with a video game, and he goes, this is what I want to be able to do. And I just happened to have a little short, I think I sent it to you, a short clip of Seth in his pajamas playing video games with his mask on.
No idea. I haven't seen that one. No idea.
Okay. Anyway, I said to Leonie, I said, I should send this when she goes, oh, he's in his pajamas. We'll do a better one. So they didn't want me to post it with him in his pajamas. So.
I'll keep posting it, and maybe on my YouTube I'll have to get all the stuff together, because I've done a lot of the trainers, and it's maybe to put all the videos in one spot so people can find them, because they're all over the place, where you have to sort of know that I've done the Utah people and the Eastern European people and the English people. But when you see them all together back to back, you know, kids playing obstacle courses and stuff like that, and counting money and stuff like that. You're just going like, wow, it's just,
Yeah.
Once it opens, like I told that guy about the video game, once it opens, you can see everything and anything.
Yeah, maybe an idea, Grant, is on your YouTube channels, just set up a playlist. We've set up playlists on ours where we're categorizing the videos. Maybe you could do that where you set up playlists. It's all the trainer videos that you've done. You know, categorize things into different playlists, right?
yeah, because there is a lot of people. That's, I think, the number one thing people don't realize. There's a lot of people, and today you tell me Dean Radin is interested in this. There's a lot of people who are following this. They may not be very vocal about it, and a lot of people doing training, which people got to realize this is not some crazy thing that just started yesterday afternoon. This has been going on for a while.
Yeah, and I'll mention too, you know, a lot of people are nervous because they think it's something paranormal, supernatural, or demonic.
Yeah.
And I got to say right here, it's not, Grant, it's science. It's neurological science. That's all it is. And it's something you're born with. But, you know, throughout the millennia, you know, whether it's religions, whether it's different people have suppressed this ability that we have for purposes of power or whatever. And so different groups have attached, you know, negative connotations to some aspects of these things. And, but all I can tell you is this particular thing is not supernatural. It's not demonic. It's not paranormal. It's just a natural ability we have. That's it. End of story.
Yeah, it's just a little bit beyond what we understand. We think we understand everything. You know, we think we've got all the blocks sorted out and they're all the right blocks. And when you start, the more you look, you realize like, no, we got all these blocks are wrong. We get, you know, this is wrong, that's wrong. We're making all sorts of assumptions that aren't correct. And so I'm glad you guys are pulling out new stuff, because I think, as I mentioned this before, but I think this is where the discoveries come from, the anomalies, from the weird things. When it doesn't fit, it means you got something wrong. You're making a false assumption as to what's going on.
Yeah, I agree. And it could very well be that this is all connected with quantum mechanics.
Yeah.
You know, on the quantum level, it's very possible. It's very possible. I don't know.
So let's do another one when you down the road, when you've done some more stuff, and especially if you get to go down to the Ions Institute. I've been there a couple of times, and let's keep up, because this is about to go viral, I think. So I'll let you know after some of the people that are working on it, and I think you'll be kind of encouraged. But we'll leave it for that today. And thanks, Rob Freeman and Wendy Gallant, and keep up the good work.
Thank you so much,
Thank you, Grant, so much.